I need Mark Talks Wrestling here with me. I need Mark Talks Wrestling here because when Astrid's here, I screw up the intro.
All
I
right.
am Oled Ed Fries. This is my current tag team partner, Astrid Pizarro. How you doing, Astrid?
Better now that you come from my screen. Thank you very much. No, I'm
Oh,
kidding.
now you've ruined everything. Now you've ruined everything. Let me press the buttons and do it wrong. You just sit back and do your thing and just, hang tight and talk. That is what you do best. You love to sit here and just add to the conversation. We get in the Hot Seat podcast saying hello, hello. We got John Cena jumping in saying hello. We got Lauren Goodnight saying Ed messing up. Yeah,
Good Lauren, tell him, Lauren, tell him.
whenever Astrid's here, Ed's messing up. But you know who wasn't messing up tonight? NXT. They were firing on all cylinders tonight. I mean, it's been a long time since I've had 8 pages of notes for an NXT normal show.
Mm-hmm.
Like most of mine are like, oh, like this happened and 2 lines about the match. I have a paragraph about two different promos have more than a paragraph of notes taken. It is absolutely incredible. A lot happened on this. Like they said it was going to be a big show. I'm like, sure,
Yeah.
NXT. We've heard this line.
We heard that before.
We've heard your Halloween Havoc. We've heard your, what was it? It wasn't the Great American Bash because that one was actually a big one. But like we've heard your New Year's Evil. That's the one that they always get you with this New Year's Evil. Oh, it's gonna be big. No, it's not. This one was big and it was actually big.
Yep.
We've got Lauren saying, "Bro, I just streamed for like 4 hours. I hear the NXT show. A lot happened in a short amount of time on that 2-hour show tonight. Let me tell you, we need to have mixed tag team titles so we can give them.
You have a lot of faith in us.
Yeah, you have a lot of faith in me and Wendy True over here to win some tag team championships. Thank God Astrid is here. The person last week was there. No, the person last week was pretty good. I didn't mess up the intro with the person here last week.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, I heard it and I saw it. Okay. No,
now,
but more than anything, wait, jokes aside though, I gotta thank Mark for how he did last week. He did an incredible job. I thought I was out of a job. I didn't know if I should show up tonight or not, but I did show up just in case. But no, and not only that, but not only thank you for the way you handle the show because I was entertained, even though I was watching it later on. But not only that, but for the words you said about it because they were so very accurate, and I agree with you. And if you haven't seen it, go to the YouTube page and watch it.
Moving on from all that sentimental nonsense that we don't need. Astrid might not have been back, but you know what? That Collision show had 50 views on the YouTube today, and me and Mark only had 45, and I got to go with the hot hand, so Astrid's back in. No.
Yes.
So the show starts off with Seth Rollins coming into the building, and badass Bron Breakker coming into the building. Oh, Vic. Oh, no. Vic. I thought only Booker T could make me do that, but no. There's been more and more of Vic Joseph making me question whether or not how good Vic Joseph is at this job. You know what it is? Vic's too hopped up on his candy that we saw in the main event at the table. Did you see that candy bowl?
No.
It's a massive candy bowl with like a couple bottles of water there. That poor man, he cannot be having that much candy to get himself that hyped up for the show.
Well, apparently he needs it. Maybe that's what they feed Tia here before she comes out.
No.
I can make a little bit of more sense too.
I reiterate, they give her speed. They give her speed. Anyways, we have a special Gold Rush video package that's okay, but nothing worth really talking about. And then we get Tyler Bate versus Mustafa Ali. Might as well have been versus Mustafa Ali.
Yeah, I was going to say, it felt that way.
Tyler Bate versus Wes Lee, with Mustafa Ali as the special guest referee.
In big quotations.
Yeah. By the way, how did you feel about them being already in the ring, all 3 of them, as soon as that video package ended, and then going right to the action?
I liked it and I didn't because I missed the entrances, but at the same time I like coming in with the intro because it makes the match in itself feel more important though. Like you can enhance that there, but when it happened, I was like, Okay, that feels odd. Are they trying to save time because something else is happening later on that needs time for? Um, but yeah, they just felt awkward at first because you're not thinking that's gonna happen right away. But at the same time, it made the match feel important to me. And not only that, but like as an Impact watcher, it reminded me of the days that still we got the X Division opening the show and opening with the high speed, kind of match. So I'm glad that was the opener tonight, though.
Yeah. And while we're having you talk about this, go ahead and talk to us about Mustafa Ali's refereeing skills or attitude towards the referee's position.
Yeah, I don't know what to call it. It just I what I love more than anything is like you knew something was gonna happen because he's a special guest referee, but you didn't know how it was gonna play out on the screen though. That's the part that I was looking forward to watching. And like watching him do the quick counts the way he did and Tyler looking at him like, what the hell? And then he's like smiling at him as it was like, I'm the one in charge. So it's like you gotta stick to this. And then he does it a second time around. He looks at him again like, what? I'm like, did I dream it the first time around? And I get to see it a second time now. And seeing the facial expressions of Tyler and Wes in this match really made that for me. Like they really sold that on me, especially towards the end when he's raising both of their hands and everything like that. And they look at him like, what the hell just happened? It feels so bizarre there at the same time, but I love how they played it off and how they sold it through the whole match. And it's like having those quick counts and this work from Ali. Like, I'm in power here. Like, you're the one that you both accepted having me in this role. So it's both of your faults that I'm here doing this. But yeah, I enjoyed like the interaction between all three of them.
We had Dijak's great tweet when NXT posted the video of some of this, and Dijak goes, "Well, that's what you get for trusting him." No, it was great. Ali doing the fast counts the first two times and both of them complaining about it. And then the next times it's a really slow count.
Mhm.
And they're still complaining. He's like, well, what do you want me to do? I count one way, you don't like that. I count another way, you don't like that. It's like, we just want a normal count, Ali. And it's, honestly, like, this match is great. Take Ali out of this. It was a great match. Dar Amazing, thank you for jumping in. Someone called the Californians, we got a Gold Rush. I can't wait till next week's Gold Rush. My God.
Mhm.
That one's even more jam-packed than this week. But this match was fine. Like, there was nothing wrong with this match. But Ali was the focus point of this match
Mhm.
in the best way. Like, in the best way of making him the focal point and making it a story about him. Like, this match, yeah, it's about Tyler Bate and it's about the championship, but it's about Ali. And it's about him going for his own wants for once.
Mhm.
And so there's a point as the match is getting close to its conclusion where Wes Lee is trying to superplex Tyler Bate to the outside of the ring. And they back and forth it, and Tyler keeps fighting it off. And then Bate hits the bop and bing and goes ahead and knocks Wes Lee all the way down to the floor. And Tyler Bate falls to the ground on the inside of the ring. And Ali starts counting, and he gets to like 6. And he rolls out of the ring, lifts Wes Lee. I thought he was just going to roll them in the ring. I, honest to God, thought he was going to roll them in the ring.
Mhm.
But he picks him up, and he puts him on the barricade, and he slaps him across the face 2 or 3 times. And he's like, this is the North American title. This is what you've been going. Get in there and defend it. And then he rolls into the ring and grabs Tyler Bate and lifts him up and does the same thing to him. And while he's doing that to Tyler Bate, Wes Lee comes in for the cardiac kick. I think to try to hit Ali.
It
Ali
felt that way,
moves.
yeah.
Ali
Mhm.
moves, and Tyler Bate takes the full brunt of a cardiac kick, and it's a 1, 2, 3. Weird, but I like it because it's continuing the build to the triple threat.
Yep.
It's not something I always want from my guest referees. Like, I want my guest referees to be impartial, but when there's no reason to have the guest referee, it makes more sense to do this because there was no reason to do this.
No.
So I like the fact that Ali was the story because he kind of inserted himself as the guest referee. And he's like, well, I'll be your referee. And they're like, well, fine, whatever. Like, you'll be just fine. They didn't think this was going to happen.
Yeah.
Says Ali didn't do anything wrong. He tried to wake Wes and Tyler up. Yeah, I've been watching wrestling for 30 years. I've never seen Earl Hebner do that. Not once. I didn't even see Dave Hebner, his son, do that.
No.
I've never seen a referee go ahead and slap the wrestlers to wake them up if it wasn't a guest referee. So, I don't know. Call me crazy, but I think there might have been an issue with what he was doing. We then get a promo for Gigi Dolan, where she talks about how art influences her wrestling. It influences her gear. She talks about how her family, her friends, and life has rejected her. But no matter what happens to her in her life and what rejection she goes through, she always has the freedom to create whatever's in her mind.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Okay? What does this have to do with wrestling?
I'm glad I was not the only one. I was like, that's cool, but okay. What is that supposed to mean?
I know we asked for certain people to have their characters fleshed out. I didn't think Gigi Dolan was the one I needed fleshed out.
I told you from the get-go, I love both of them, but I don't like the way they're playing out Gigi's character. That's why I like JC's better.
No. Like, at least they're giving Gigi a character. I know,
but it doesn't make
as
any
opposed
sense.
to JC.
Like, okay, she's like, oh, one of the lines was like, oh, I was been drawn out to art and self-expression, living in creativities, and this is a way to escape my reality. And she's like, I have the freedom to create whatever I want. I'm like, are you a painter now? What the hell? Like, what is it supposed to be about? I get you want to express yourself. Well, what does that have to do with the way you're wrestling, I guess? How is that connected to who you are as a wrestler and your style?
I felt like it was missing that one piece to be like, I see the wrestling mat as my canvas.
Yeah,
like,
it needed a connection.
Other than her gear, like, it was missing one line. There's a line from this promo missing, and the only reason why I say the ring canvas is my canvas. The ring mat is my canvas. That's how Bret Hart saw the wrestling ring. I remember I've listened to Bret Hart numerous interviews, and while I have my issues with Bret Hart, the one thing I always remember is that Bret Hart saw himself as an artist, and his artistry was in the ring, and one of the reasons why, and this is a famous quote from, I think it's Bruce Pritchard, talking about one of the reasons why Bret took so long to go to WCW is, honestly, he didn't like the canvas that they used because they had their name and their logo plastered in the middle of the canvas. And he said Bret couldn't see himself making beautiful pieces of art in that canvas, whereas WWE has a clear... Like, it's not about the color, but it's about the fact that it's unsoiled. It's just a blue mat. It's just a clear canvas that you can kind of create on. And it's not about the brand. And that's something from Bret Hart. That's like, okay, good, I get that. Now you can take any of that art shit that Gigi Dolan was talking about that bored me to tears and make it make sense.
But this is why I go back to Dara's comment here. Nice talking, Gigi, but where's the rest? It's just like, I love the way she said it. Don't get me wrong. The way she delivered it was great. But at the same time, I'm just waiting for her to connect that back to her style or the way she wrestles or the way she goes at her opponent, something like that. If she would have been like, connect it back to her wrestling and they go, Kiana, you're going to feel a little bit of my creativity, something like that. I would have been like, connect it back to wrestling and then afterwards, because we got the Kiana interview. But then hear her talk about art and I'm like, unless your gimmick is that you're a painter, I don't get why you're talking to me about this right now.
Yeah, and Parrish is right, and this is a great thing from an in-ring talent themselves. The mat represents purity and creativity. I get that, but the creativity, there was a missing link between the creativity that she feels in her head and what it means in terms of a wrestling. Like, she mentioned that it inspires her gear, but I needed one more step to tell me why it matters in the ring as a talent, as opposed to just being on the outside. Plot tiff, she wants to be part of Imperium. She wasn't saying that the mat was sacred. She's just saying that she wants to be a painter.
But
Gigi,
yeah, it was just the gear. That was the only detail about wrestling that she mentioned, and I was like,
yep,
oh,
yep.
okay.
Like, I like the promo. I think the promo is great. And if it
Yeah.
has one line or two lines that how
Mhm.
how the creativity matters in the wrestling ring,
Yeah.
that's the one missing piece that makes that a really good
Mhm.
promo or the really bad promo that we got. It was just missing that little bit.
Yeah.
Um as the greatest wrestler ever said, I mean, he's not. He's just not. He's pretty damn good, but he's not the greatest ever. I mean, he's not even in the top 20. I'll be honest. Kiana James trashes Gigi and says that she and Gigi are a lot more alike than Gigi wants to admit. But the problem is that Kiana grew up and got aspirations and basically a drive in her life. And Gigi Dolan just wants to be a waste of space, essentially. I'll disrespect them all. Don't you worry about it. I'll disrespect them all. Hello, Mel. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned. There's lots of Eddie Thorpe on this episode.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And we don't need to talk anymore about the
No,
Kiana
the only
stuff.
part that made me laugh is when she said that was a waste of real estate. I'm like, she makes it seem like as if Gigi drew it on the wall and it wasn't even her.
Yeah,
I'm like, that was already there. She was admiring it. It wasn't like she did it and she wasted the real estate. Somebody else did, if you think about it like that. So that made me laugh when I read it in that aspect. But like, I like the way that she's like, we're like the only difference. Like, I grew up and I was wild, but I grew up and I learned from that. But it just like when she said wasted real estate, I was like, she didn't do that, right? I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, it was. Speaking of things that are gonna make me, do I want to let you do this before I have to eat crow? Astrid, go ahead and talk about the Tia Hale pep rally before I have to.
Wait, we're gonna talk about your favorite part of the night. Come on, Ed. No. Okay.
I mean, Tiffany was here, so there is some
no,
enjoyment.
the one before that. The one before that.
What the North
I'll
American
talk about
title
it for you.
match?
I'll refresh your mind. I'll refresh your mind.
Okay.
So we had Thea in her pep rally. She's telling us, there's a reason why she was in Chase U, because she didn't want to be a doctor or a lawyer or an Olympian. She wanted to be a WWE superstar or wrestler. And she said, in Chase U is when finally she accepted who she was. And Mr. Chase was the person that pushed her to be who she is. And then that's when Duke kind of like took offense to that, because he's like, I'm here too, doing the pep rally for you. She goes, you too. And then he's like, the MVP of Chase U, which we got a lot of MVP chants because of it. I love the unison from the crowd as this was happening, though. And then she's like, well, you helped me get that confidence that I needed. And then she thanks Gulak and Dempsey for helping her and showing her all these looks that she knows how to do now that she doesn't know how to do correctly, but sure thing. I like the part where she does point out to Gulak of like, you don't smile often, but just like, I kind of want to make you smile by telling you this kind of thing. But then we had Ed's favorite person, because it's not Nikita, it's Tiffany, interrupt her, telling her she has 0% chance. So she's better than Steiner math. She said 0% chance of winning next week. And I like what she says, if you think you're winning, you're the dumbest person in this whole building. And she goes, I had straight A's, which made me laugh when I heard that in the background. But yeah, she said, and then Duke tells Tiffany that he does believe in Thea and her winning. And she's like, it's okay, I'm not going to tap. And then she puts on the Kimura, and she ends up tapping. Woohoo! That's my favorite part.
So,
Uh-huh.
I can't look at myself while I say this, so I have to take my glasses off so that I can't see the screen.
I want to hear it. Come on.
This was the best promo that Tia Hale's ever cut.
Bobby, you better clip that. 24 minutes. We got it.
Tia Hale talks about how... I have lengthy notes about this, so I'm going to go over a couple points.
Ooh.
She talks about how this is the most awesomest day of her whole life, which made me cringe, because of course she'd say that. She talks about the others' accomplishments, and her biggest one being that she's graduated high school, which gets Gulak to look at Dempsey,
yeah,
and then steal the microphone and go, "You've just graduated high school."
Yeah.
And I literally put in my notes, it makes Dempsey and Gulak realize that they might be wasting their entire lives by dealing with her.
Yeah.
She then goes on, as you said, to thank Andre Chase, to thank Duke. Duke starts piping up, so she goes ahead and thanks Duke. The MVP chants that you talked about, Duke had to start them himself, which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
And then she says, I have to also thank my two favorite pains in the butts, Charlie Dempsey and Drew Gulak. And then Duke says, give me a hail, yeah. To which Tiffany finally says, enough's enough of this garbage bullshit, and comes out. Yeah, and then Duke says Tiffany will lose and that Tia's not only going to win, but that Tia's going to tap. Then Tiffany says not only is Tiffany going to win, but that she's going to make sure that Tia doesn't tap her out. To which I started trying to think about this in my head, and I went, well, if she doesn't win, then she couldn't have tapped you out, because that would mean that she would win. And then I started wondering what the hell universe Tiffany was in, where she could both tap out and still win.
Well, it could be maybe she taps out and the referee doesn't see it. So
I have a bad feeling that NXT is going to do a really, really, really bad thing.
Give us a hell yeah, and then and goes, oh gosh.
NXT is going to do a really bad thing. I have this really, really big fear that they're going to put the fucking title on her. I really do. I don't want to. I don't want this. Like, there are levels of not want. Like, I don't watch AEW. That's like one level of not wanting. This is like 15 layers of hell below not watching AEW. Like, I'd rather watch Jay White's greatest matches on loop than have to watch Tia Hale win this championship.
You heard that, Lauren. You heard it, right, Lauren? I hope you're still here. No, I had to say Dara's comment is one of my favorites too. Tia taps Tiffany up, but it's on the outside.
I don't care. I literally want this match to be less than a minute long. No, Mike.
Bad
do I have a mute button on the chat? Can I mute the chat? Hold on. Maybe I can time him out in the chat. There we go. I can do that. No, I'm not a moderator on this. No, I can't time him out. He's on the only chat. I can't do it. Damn. I have a bad feeling that they're going to do this. Yeah, that's fine. There's no good reason to do this, right? Like beyond my despise of Tia Hale, there's no good reason to put the title on her, right?
I think the only thing will be like if they want her to be exactly like the youngest champion. But I'm like, do you really want to go for that right now, though?
There's like WWE typically does that when they have to erase somebody from the history books. Like, let's be honest, WWE's a little bit petty. Typically, when they start replacing people, they're replacing people for a reason.
Because I think Paige was, 21 when she won it?
Yeah, but there's no reason to replace Paige as the youngest NXT Women's Champion. It doesn't take much to be the youngest NXT Women's Champion, because your competition are people like Asuka and Charlotte and Sasha and Bayley. Like, we're talking about people who are all in their late 20s, early 30s. At best guess for most of those ladies when they won the NXT title. Yeah, I have a real bad feeling. Bad feeling. However,
Tia Hale was 20, so this is why they're doing it probably.
No, there's always a reason not to have. But if they were going to do that, they would have done it before. Like, if they were going to have done this, they would have done it before with somebody else. Like, why Tia? Anybody but Tia Hale. But she cut a good promo. She really, it felt real. For the first time ever, her character slowed down for the promo portion of this, and it felt legitimate. And I'm like, if you take away the crack addict hyper kid that's Tia Hale's portraying, and you give me this other side, I might be able to tolerate her. Not like, tolerate.
That's a higher level up, It's she's going up a level there though.
Well, yes. From hatred to tolerate.
That's progress.
Speaking of people that I do enjoy, we have Joe Gacy, who's unfortunately down on himself and talking about, is he the one who's bringing down the group? And Jagger Reed tries to go ahead and tell him that he is. And he says yes. And he starts to explain it. And Ava cuts him off. And then she gets cut off by Gacy, who says, no, he's right. Because he is right. That Gacy's the one who's been losing. And while the dyad hasn't been lighting the world on fire, they've at least won a match sometime in the past. So it makes this make a little bit sense. Something we didn't talk about with me and Mark last week that I noticed upon rewatch. There are levels. Astrid, hate, meh, tolerate, okay, like, and love. Oh, okay. There's a comma, Astrid. I thought Astrid was below hate. I'm like, but I like Astrid. Why is she at the bottom? Yes, there are levels. There are levels. I'd put tolerate and meh. I'd flip-flop them, though. If I tolerate something, it's less than if it's just meh. But anyways, Ava cuts off Jagger Reed, and then Gacy cuts him off. And he says he's going to look within inside himself to find out what he's missing. Because the dyad, the two of them, have been doing well. But he hasn't. Ava says, yada, 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 4 roots. And it reminded me of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. In that 6th episode, when the chick's gone crazy and she's like, we're killing people and we're doing all this bad stuff. And she's like, one world. And nobody will meet her eyes. And nobody will say one people. It felt the same way here. She's like, 4 roots. Nobody's saying one tree. She has to slap Jagger across the chest for him to say one tree. They all kind of mumble it and walk away. GYV is going to turn on Joe Gacy. Or Joe Gacy's going to turn on them. It's one or the other. I would have Gacy turn, to be brutally honest. That's what I would do. Because I think Joe Gacy being a bigger villain makes more sense than needing, anything right now out of Jagger and Reed. Jagger and Fowler. Because you're not doing anything with GYV because they're leaving in October. So if you're going to do anything, I say turn Gacy even more heel. And have him betray them. What did you think anything else about this?
If I'm not mistaken, I think it was Ava, because I think she's the one that said a tree will not fall from one single chop. I think one of them said that, and I thought, I'm like, that's an interesting line. But I like how she's the one of like trying to get the guys to kind of be that glue in the group, and like, no, you're not saying that. Like, don't make him feel bad, and trying to get Gacy to like focus, but not telling the guys of like, kind of telling him, yeah, you're right. You're the one bringing us down. So you can see like it goes back to what we were saying about her being that princess in the group that's different from a lot of valets and managers. She's kind of like the conscience in there too, if you think about it like that. So I thought it was interesting of her like slapping them, for them to finish the catchphrase, or for them not to talk about Gacy that way. So I thought that was super interesting as well as part of the group.
Yep. We then get the Creed's trio, as I have them listed in my notes, where they have a segment where they're basically teasing each other about all kinds of different things. Julius cheeses Ivy about being short. I don't know. Brutus teases them about his big ears. I don't know why anybody didn't mention.
All I saw was Julius in glasses, and I was like,
yeah, I was going to say, I don't know why anybody didn't tease Julia about those horrible, horrible glasses that he was wearing.
Yeah.
Because they didn't look like they were actual glasses. They look like the kind of glasses that you put on when you don't need glasses, but you need to go ahead and, put on glasses. We then get the triple threat tag team match between JBBJ, Blade and Inoue, and Hank Tank. This was okay. I hesitate to say it was good because
I thought you were gonna say fun. I was waiting for that at least.
I mean, it was fine. It wasn't bad.
No.
I didn't care. I didn't care who wins this match.
Mm-hmm.
Half expected Los Lotharios to come out midway through the match and just wreck the whole thing, to be perfectly honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, JBBJ are going to go ahead and get the win. And then Idris Enofe comes off one corner and breaks up the pin. Blade comes off the other corner, lands on top of Tank, gets the 1, 2, 3. And as I called it last week, we have Idris Enofe and Malik Blade, who were recently told by Gallus that they didn't have to worry about a tag team title match, getting a tag team title match. Whoop-de-doo, Gallus is going to win pretty easily.
Yeah. That one's not going to last too long.
The match here was fun. Like, the stuff that JBBJ did on the outside, where they were double teaming the guys, and then one of the guys tried to jump on top of Briggs and he caught him and he threw him against the ropes and clotheslined him. Like, there was some good spots in this match from a variety of people.
Yeah, I feel like it was like I like the speed of it and the pacing of it. And the funny thing is, like, I kept watching. It's like thinking of the scenarios in my head. I was like, oh, okay, Jerry BJ versus Gallus. That's not bad. And then I was like, Hank and Tank. It's like, okay. And then I kept thinking, I was like, Malik and Enofe. I feel like I've barely seen them. Does that mean they're gonna win? And then they win. Yeah.
Yep. As Parrish says, of all the matches, this was their latest. We get Gallus backstage. They're deciding that they're going to head out to the pub. But first, Los Lotharios come in and say, you know, you guys are lucky because if we had been in that match, we'd have won. And then next week, we would have beaten you guys for the titles. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, all right, then why are we doing this match? Because this makes me interested. I want to see Los Lotharios versus Gallus. That would be much more entertaining than Blade and Enofe.
Yeah.
Mark says he hated the winner. There was no good winner of that match. The only good winner of that match was none of them. I'm sorry, but if I'm gonna have to sit through one of those teams against Gallus, I'd rather just Gallus cut a promo for 10 minutes. That would be more entertaining than having to watch a Blade and an Ofe get beat up by Gallus for 10 minutes.
I would have preferred JBBJ at least.
Well, yeah, because then Fallon's outside the ring and she had an... Briggs and Jensen should have won. I mean, I guess. You can't do heel versus heel. Los Lotharios need to get over. I don't think heel... Based on the promo they were cutting tonight, I don't think Los Lotharios are coming back as baby faces in any way, shape, or form. I think at that point, you just put Los Lotharios as the cheating dastardly heels against the heels that are just like, line them up and we'll knock them down. Like, no, is it a good idea to put heel versus heel? No, but it's better than the options that we're getting. I'd much rather watch that heel versus heel match. I mean, a gauntlet would be great. Put Gallus in the front of the gauntlet and just have them go through all these teams. Yeah, that would have been much more entertaining. I don't think you have time for that on either show, though, because these shows are jam-packed with stuff going on. Yep. Because if this wasn't enough, we now get Eddie Thorpe backstage practicing his DJ stuff.
Mel, can you explain this, please?
No, I just don't understand why he's practicing his DJ stuff into an empty room.
Yeah, like, and you hear no sound either.
Yeah, it's like he has everything going into his headphones. I'm like, I don't get this. I don't get this. But Damon Cup comes over and he says he's bringing Raw Underground back. For those of you who didn't watch WWE during the pandemic, have I got something fun for you to see. Raw Underground was brought in at the very beginning of the pandemic by Shane, the best in the world, McMahon, to spice up the third hour of Raw, where we got hard-hitting action between fighters, not wrestlers, but fighters, with a ring that had no ropes. It's literally a WWE ring with no ropes. It wasn't bad. Like, the Raw Underground stuff was really good. It was everything else about Raw Underground that was awful.
Yeah.
They had the dancing girls in the cages, which was weird. Then they got rid of the dancing girls with the cages and they had all the wrestlers there. Like, apparently JC Jane. You had at this time, you still had 3 horsemen of the MMA. Because there was one where they had one episode where it was Shayna, Marina and Jessamine Duke that were all beating women up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I remember those two. They're long gone now. There's something horribly great about Raw Underground. I hope Dabakato shows up next week in this Raw Underground.
I was about to say he's the only one.
Because he's the only person on NXT who was actually part of Raw Underground as their own current name.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as we saw, JC Jane was part of a Raw Underground. And I'm sure some of the other ones might have been other enhancement talent that got beat up by people like Dolph Ziggler and other things. Yeah, Dolph Ziggler was a big name in Raw Underground. Dude, Raw Underground stuff was crazy, man. Like, it was a trip, man.
Yeah.
It could have been, they had something. They didn't go all in enough on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did regretfully mention that they had the dancing ladies. Like, Raw Underground was really, really something else. Like, wow, was it something else? But I'm excited because the matches themselves, like, weren't terrible. Like, having wrestling be more of a fight than a wrestling match in the terms of a wrestling world made a little bit of sense. But it also made it weird because if this is real fighting in a wrestling ring, then what's the wrestling in the wrestling ring?
Yeah.
It did have that one massive logical.
It's like the other 2 hours are fake. Stay for the third one. That's the real one.
No, I understand there's one massive logic hole with it, but damn, there was something different and interesting about it, and I really wanted to like it. As long as you could get over that massive gap, that logic gap, it was good.
I don't know if you saw this though, but there was also the video from NXT Anonymous.
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay, just
Lyra Valkyria got in the face of JC Jane, and JC Jane pretended she didn't do anything that she did in this video.
I like how she pretended. It's like when you're like in high school and they confront you, like, no, I didn't do that.
Yep, no, I didn't do that. I totally didn't do that. I absolutely didn't do the. I did not do the things that are on camera that you can just go back and watch the show and see that I did.
You didn't hear it correctly. I didn't say that.
Yeah. There's a reason why I didn't mention it. After we get announced that Raw Underground is happening, we got Roxanne Perez backstage attacking Blair Davenport. And Blair wipes her chin and like almost like she's wiping like blood away from her mouth, and she goes, "All right, Roxanne, I see you." She like gives her a little bit of respect. She's like, all right, we're leveling this up. I like this. I was really hoping we'd get that match for next week, but unfortunately we didn't. Oh boy.
Your second favorite part of the night.
We'll get to Cora and Dana in just a moment because we got a butt first here. So Cora comes to the ring with for the first time. Ed notices her fake barbed wire body jewelry that apparently I've missed for like 2.5 months. Yep, no idea how I missed that for 2.5 months, but yeah. But first we get Nathan Frazier backstage with Seth Rollins, and this was cute. Ash, why don't you go ahead and talk about this?
I love this woman so much. No, I loved it because I kept thinking back of like those moments of Rollins in NXT, and I love how he looks at me. He's like, "Congratulations with you and that thing you gotta carry on everywhere you go." And he goes, "I know, but it's cool though. Like I get to carry this with me." But I like it when he looks at him like a proud papa because he was trained by Rollins, and the way he tells him, "I'm proud of the performer that you are." And then Nathan telling him, "I learned from the best," and he's like, kind of like, "Make sure you pay that forward." He's like, I got it. And as he leaves before we get Carmelo in there as well. But I love that moment. It was like, having your protege now on screen and be able to tell him how you feel, like seeing him kind of follow in your footsteps in that way. I loved it.
Oh, the history. It's nice when they can weave a little bit of real life into a little bit of fake. We then get Carmelo Hayes coming up to him and introducing themselves to Seth. And Melo says, "Look, I'm just here to pay respect to the champ." And they start doing each other's catchphrases a little bit. Yeah. And I'm like, NXT, this isn't fair. You're teasing me with a Melo versus Seth match that we're not going to get. And I'm really, really mad at you right now.
I like how when they introduce themselves and then he just stares at him like, he's like, "I'm playing with you. I know who you are." Loved it.
These three are really cool together. Like, Trick is just standing there, like, just watching it all happen. Like he almost I know he says something, but I can't remember what it was because he seemed
Yeah,
like that.
I think it isn't it. Oh, I am Carmelo. He goes, I am Trick Williams. I'm like, get it. We get the cash was the I am part. But I loved it though.
It was just fun to see, and as I posted on Twitter because I saw somebody else post it, it's nice to see the circle of life, as we had one Bill Dum Dum Phil pay the respects as the world champion to the NXT champion Seth Rollins when Rollins was champion. We now have Rollins as a world champion coming back to NXT and going ahead and giving the rub to the current NXT champion. It's nice. Unfortunately, we then get Dana Brooke versus Cora Jade. Oh boy. Astrid.
No.
All right, fine.
I'm kidding.
So they wrestle for a bit, doing nothing of substance.
No.
And then Dana injures her leg. Now, I was
But
in
no,
the...
I'm like,
No.
wait. I was gonna say the only thing will be though, if you think about it from this aspect, the only thing I think it was before this, if I'm mistaken, the only thing that I liked before this even started was when Cora was out. I think she was about to hit Dana, and Dana hit like a little reversal, landing on the outside, and then as she's going in, and Cora is in the ring as well, she kicks her in the knee. But I was like, that how is that kick in the knee gonna, this whole thing that happened during the rest of the match? That's the only part that I was like, okay.
So to help with this, we had a bit of a hubbub in the Call of Unity during this match.
Uh-oh.
Because our friend Corey MLB was live at Raw last night. And during the main event tapings for last night, Dana Brooke came out wearing tape on her knee. Apparently, they thought her knee was injured. So they had some tape on her knee to help sell what's about to happen, where she hurts her knee. We then get a picture-in-picture ad break where Dana Brooke is antagonized the entire time by Cora Jade.
Mm-hmm.
To which people are talking like, yeah, Parrish, there really is way too many jokes to make about this, so I'm not even going to bother making them. I'm just going to continue. So, this leads to us in the Call of Unity have a discussion about if she were really injured, they wouldn't be having the picture-in-picture ad break to show her getting stretchered out. If she were legitimately injured, they would have gone to a full break so that we don't see her being stretchered out. On top of that, they wouldn't have let Cora Jade yap in her ear like Scrappy Doo the entire time she was trying to get medical help. Finally, enough's enough, and as we come back from the commercial break, Cora Jade is standing up there trying to yappy in Dana Brooke's face, and Dana Brooke finally slaps her. Dana Brooke then hobbles herself while putting the weight on the wrong foot into the ring to attempt to have a wrestling match. We're going to skip the rest of the wrestling match because it was as awful as it could have been, but it wasn't the worst thing in the entire match. Now, we make fun of Shawn Michaels versus Hulk Hogan for overselling. We make fun, as we should, because Shawn Michaels hyper sold for Hulk Hogan there to make Hogan look like an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
We have Dolph Ziggler, who's probably one of the best sellers in the business, but who's argued multiple times by many people that he oversells. I think he's about the best in the business. I don't think he oversells at all. I think he's pretty damn good. And then we had Dana Brooke, who she was almost carted out on her knee because she couldn't stand up on it in a single leg crab, and the only amount of selling she could do was scream. She wasn't pounding the mat. She wasn't like gripping with her fingernails to try to get to the top. She wasn't making fists and like doing something. No, the only thing that she was doing was yelling to sell that she was having her knee ripped apart by this heinous attack by Cora Jade. Hi, Bobby. How are you? There are no clips to be had from any point in this show whatsoever. Don't listen to Astrid. Do not listen to Astrid. Thankfully, the referee puts a stop to the match and our misery and calls Cora Jade the winner. Do you have any thoughts?
Can we have the information for this referee to send me a gift card or a thank you card or a little something, please?
Yeah. I wish he would have stopped at 5 minutes beforehand. Or, I don't know, just not had the match at all. Like, the card was pretty full. We could have just skipped this.
And not only that, but I'm at the part of like, she's in the submission. Your leg is injured and you couldn't tap out to get yourself out of it and save yourself.
Mm-hmm.
In the first 3 seconds, bam, it's on and bam, it's done. You couldn't do that.
She couldn't even make it look like she was in pain other than screaming. Like, I've watched plenty of competent wrestlers who have, made it look like they're doing Stone Cold when he passes out to the sharpshooter. He's pushing up and he's gritting his teeth and the blood is pouring down his face and he passes out. There's so many moments that you can go back to of people being in a submission hold. And hell, as much as we want to make fun of it, Cody Rhodes in Puerto Rico. When he has the broken arm in No, that wasn't Puerto Rico. That was the other one, right? No, that was Puerto Rico, isn't it? No. Puerto Rico's the one he wins real quick. It's the one after Puerto Rico. Cody Rhodes with the arm and Brock having the Kimura on.
Yeah.
Remember how Cody's at least selling the fact that he's in pain? And like he's overcoming it, but at least
I was gonna say not a champions. Yeah, thank you.
Mark is right, not a champions. I couldn't remember. I thought it was a good thing, so I instantly put it in Puerto Rico at Backlash. But no, like at least Cody, even in that moment, like yeah, he probably should have tapped. Yeah, he probably should have lost that match earlier than he did. But at least he made it feel like he was in trouble and he was in immense amounts of pain and that he was gutting it through, as opposed to Dana Brooke just screaming like a banshee the entire fucking time.
Not only that, I hated it because before the picture-in-picture starts to happen, like she gets injured and Cora's about to go after her. And then she's holding her leg, and then Cora gets next to her. She goes like this to like stop her and like keep her distance. And she goes, my knee! And I'm like, did you forget about the knee for that moment? You were telling her to stop, and then you kept yelling because of your knee. What happened? I was like, I had hope for this, but no, it wasn't it. I'm sorry.
And by the way, for anybody who asks, what do the fans think of this? They were too busy checking their phones and making almost no noise.
They had Cora Chance, who last time she was getting booed when she had a promo.
They had 3 people chanting Cora out of a group of about probably 120, 200 people. There was not a Cora chant. There was a couple people chanting Cora, and the crowd was so silent you could actually notice. I mean, this crowd was not interested in this match at all, and neither was the people watching at home. But then we get a good moment. We get something nice. She might have to have surgery 5 times in her knee. I feel like that's a Booker T question, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I keep thinking of Booker T 5 times surgery. I don't know. Yeah. If she were legitimately injured, they would have not done a picture-in-picture ad break. Like, there's no moment.
No, I would have just taken that moment with, like, they were taking her out and just finished the match right there. It was like, count out something.
Yeah. And
that would have been it. Would I say this, like, second half of it for us?
Mark, there's an even better moment coming up. But didn't go Shucky Ducky Quack. Moving on to something that was really interesting. We had the Von Wagner moment. I really loved this. I thought this was fantastic. Von Wagner knocked this out of the ballpark. Yeah. He sold the emotion. He sold a little bit of he broke down a little bit, and I really liked this. Like, he didn't break down like he was crying, but he broke down into somebody who has emotions, as opposed to the Von Wagner we've been seeing. He talked about how he had a condition, and Lord knows I could never in a million years repeat the name of it.
No.
But it's basically a condition where his skull was fused together as a baby, and apparently in babies, the skull continues to grow and grow. And we'll get to Mark's things. I have the same opinion that Mark does, but the skull continues to grow as babies, and Vaughn's was fused into place. It was only this. So at 15 months old, he's in that picture. They put him through a 14+ hour surgery where they cut him from ear to ear across the head. They peeled his face down off of his skull to be able to fix the skull, to be able to make it so that it's not fused into place, so that it will grow big enough so that he can continue to just have a chance at life. They didn't even know if this would give him a chance at life, but this was the only thing to give him a bigger chance at life. He talked about the bullying of kids because of it when he was in school, when he was 5 or 6 years old. He even talks about how the parents would just stop and stare and then tell the kids to not look while they're still staring at him because he looks different. He talks about how he couldn't get mad at the kids because he was a monster. He looked different, and he believed the things that they were saying. To which Robert Stone says, I have kids, and I know how pissed I'd be if I had to watch my kids go through this. This was amazing. It gives us a reason to care about Von Wagner. Is he going to be any good in the wrestling ring? I don't care. I'm emotionally invested in Von Wagner now. You've given me a reason to care about the person who's doing the gimmick. Whether that's a true story or something made up from a kid who went through it. I don't care. Because you've given me a reason to care. Mark says, I'm becoming a Von Wagner fan. I loved this. Dara Amazing says, damn, I'm a Von Wagner fan now. Robert Stone, I have kids while Lesnar walks in. Says, I mean, yeah, that would have been funny too, but it didn't happen. Astrid, your thoughts on the Von Wagner stuff here?
I just kept thinking, why couldn't they have done this before? I feel like this would have been a great way to, like, in a way, introduce him. Because I don't want to say it like that, but it's the best way to get sympathy from the crowd. And people would have been like, oh, I relate to him because something like that happened to me, or like the way I was bullied and things like that. So people would have made like a bigger and better connection with him. And I feel like people would have cheered him on from the get-go. I'm like, I would have liked that this happened sooner than it happened. And I kept wondering, is this even, like, is the story real or not? Because that's another thing I was curious about. But like the overall acting for him and Stone during this match, their facial expressions while they're telling us this whole story. I was like, I wish I could have heard this from the beginning. I would have been like, oh, I care about him now, But why? It feels weird having it now after having him in the roster for so long. But I enjoyed it. I was like, I felt like I was watching a novela, and then they come and say, this is what happened to me when I was younger. This is why I'm the villain kind of thing, because that's what happens in novelas most of the time. But yeah, I wish it would have been sooner than what it was. But overall, I enjoy how they did it, though, and the delivery of it.
I wish it would have been sooner, but I don't necessarily think you needed to have it in the beginning. I think the moment fans turned on him and that they realized that they didn't have anything with him, I think they could have done it then. They could have done it 6 months ago. They could have done it 8 months ago. Yeah. There was a point in time where Von Wagner had a chance in NXT to be something big, and I think this could have been a nice one. Explain why he's the monster that he is. I think it could have been fun to explain the monster that was in there. They didn't choose to do it then. They chose to do it now. I'm fine with what they did now because this was out of the park. This was fantastic. And it just shows these are the types of things that you can do if you give your people time and you tell a story about people. We actually give a damn. This is the reverse of Gigi Dolan. They gave us a reason to care about him, but they talk about why he is who he is in this. Like, they didn't outright say this is why I am who I am, but he talks about how he understood the bullying and it helped him think that he was a monster. And in turn, you can go, that's why he's a monster in the ring. That's why he's a bully in this world. Because he's sick of being bullied and he knows what it feels like and things like that. As opposed to Gigi Dolan, who's talking about creativity and painting and all that bullshit. This is two sides of the same coin. Two really good promos, but one had that hook that we needed to make us understand what we're going through. And even the hook was Robert Stone just being like, explain to me about this picture. We've had this picture being set up for what? A month and a half now.
Maybe more.
Like, they've done a good job about where we don't necessarily need this to matter about the wrestling world, because we've seen this coming and we understand where it's going. Maybe the Gigi Dolan thing is just too early to see. Maybe in 2 months we'll look back and go, no, that was good. We appreciate that. We like that. But I thought it was all right. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see what comes next, because there's more to this story. Robert Stone wants more, and Vaughn cuts it off. He's like, no, that's good. We're done for today. So I'm excited to see what comes next.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm going to say this. I'm excited to see more about Von Wagner.
I think it also shows too of like he had the psychologist and the therapist, and then now he was able to open up just a bit enough, and then kind of like maybe he'll need another appointment with the therapist, and he'll open up a little bit more because he's opening with her first, and then he's able to notice that he can open up, so he's doing it with Stone now. So it's like, I think that would be interesting if they do play it off that way on screen, as if she's teaching him to open up and he's practicing it with Stone.
No comment. No comment on the therapist teaching him to open up. We then get Axiom and Reggie talking to Eddie backstage, while we have multitude of random guys who nobody knows who the fuck they are in the background, pretending to do things but not actually.
One of them was
them.
Smiles, the deaf wrestler.
Okay. One person who we give a damn about,
and there's others. One behind him that I know too, but I can't remember his name. But yeah, at least I noticed too.
Anyways, they're talking to Eddie Thorpe, and Eddie Thorpe's watching some Raw Underground matches. God forbid that poor bastard having to watch some Raw Underground stuff. But they're talking about, like, it's going to be hard to find a training partner who can replicate the kinds of things that Damon Kemp can do. You know, he's an All-American wrestler. He's, he's a big guy, things like that. I'm like, well, yeah, you have the two smallest idiots in the locker room talking about this. Yeah, we just saw them last week, and apparently the two of them standing on top of each other's shoulders aren't taller than the 7-foot-tall fucking Commander Aziz. But then we get Gable Steveson.
Wait, I got it funny for you. Do you want to laugh at me?
That this is Damon Kemp's older brother?
No, I knew he was. I know he is. Okay. Once I saw him on screen, I thought it was Damon at first. And I was like, why would Damon help him?
Damon's going to help him train to beat him?
Yeah, and I was like, why is Damon helping him? And then I was like, and then I saw the nameplate. I was like, got it.
Yep. For those who don't know, this is Gable Steveson, Raw superstar Gable Steveson, who was drafted to Raw 2 years ago. For those who also don't remember, Gable Steveson is rumored to be a terrible person, but also is an Olympic gold medalist. So WWE wants you to remember one of those things. We'll let you pick which one you think WWE wants you to remember. But he goes ahead and offers to be Eddie Thorpe's training partner. But I think it's really funny, considering he's training Eddie Thorpe to beat his real-life little brother.
Yep.
There's, this is a moment where I wish that they didn't have two last names on television, so that we could really dive into this. Because I think that would be a really funny story if we could dive into this. But of course, it's the wrestling world, so we have Damon Kemp as opposed to whatever his real first name is in Stevens. No, Mel, you cannot help train Eddie Thorpe. I know you want to. I know you're going to offer your services, but unfortunately...
Mel will say, I volunteer as tribute.
You're not a Mockingjay. You don't get to volunteer as tribute. You're not Katniss Everdeen. Yes, I know the reference. There's more to it than just being pinned down to the ground by Eddie Thorpe, so I think you should hold off on this one. No. Bad, Mel. Calm down. Cool off. Go take an ice cold shower, Mel. Go take an ice cold shower. Not. That is fun to do. I see why you like doing it to me so much.
There you go.
We now get the second thing that has 6 pages of notes on my page, which is the promo battle between Baron Corbin and Carmelo Hayes. Sit back, kids. This one's going to take a bit.
Buckle up.
So Melo comes to the ring. Corbin's already out there. He had his thing before the commercial break. Melo comes out. And Melo gets ready to start posing, and Corbin cuts him off, and he cuts off the music. And he says, having that title doesn't mean you've made it. And nothing you can say, I haven't heard. Nothing you can do, I haven't seen. To which Carmelo Hayes responds, like you've never seen an NXT championship title reign. Like you've never seen the respect of these people in the crowd. To which Corbin says, I don't care about these stupid people in the crowd. I don't care about the thoughts and opinions of idiots on the internet. Like my own co-host Astrid Pizarro, whom got retweeted by Mr. Baron Corbin for complimenting him. But he doesn't care about the people on the internet. Melo says that he thinks Corbin thinks he's just going to come in here and win this title and make himself relevant again. And Melo says that's not going to happen. I've had multiple people from the main roster come down here and try to check my credibility and take me out. And they all lost. Melo also says that he's beaten those people and all of their names and all of their shirts are up in the rafters where they belong. Who's the other one? I know he's talking about Ricochet, but who else is he talking about? Because he said more than one. And I can't think of who the second one is for the life of me.
It wasn't Ziggler? I thought it was Ziggler for some reason.
Did he ever wrestle Ziggler?
I don't remember, no.
I was going to say, I don't remember who the second one is.
And
he says, no, because Cameron Grimes wasn't on the main roster yet. A lot of those guys are guys. I think he might have just been trying to inflate the idea but it was Ricochet. But I know it's Ricochet. But the promo continues where he starts talking about Happy Corbin. And Corbin cuts him off and says, no. We want to talk about Happy Corbin? Fine, we'll talk about Happy Corbin. You want to know what Happy Corbin bought me? A $1.8 million house. You want to compare things? Let's compare bank accounts. Let's compare WrestleMania moments. Let's compare years on the main roster. I've got a decade. What do you got? And Melo shipes back. At 26, I won the breakout tournament and successfully cashed in on a championship. At 26, you were being cut by the Arizona Cardinals. He says, I respect the black and gold OGs, the ones that built this place. He's like, I respect the hell out of everything that they've done to make NXT what it is. But you know what? This is my house now. I raise the bar. I don't come in here and try to live up to you guys. I try to outdo what came before me. I've put in new windows in this house. I've put in new bedrooms in this house. I had to put a new roof on the place because I tore it down so many goddamn times. Just so good. Corbin says, if you come out, Corbin says, if you have to come out here each and every week and tell them that you're him, if you have to come out here and convince yourself that you're him, you're not. When I'm done with you, I'm taking that title and I'm driving home in my Porsche to my big house and I'm putting that title on the mantle and my hot ass wife is going to pour me a drink from a bottle that you can't afford. Carmelo Hayes starts to say something and Corbin says, no, we're done. Drops the microphone and walks away. Just, my God, this promo was fantastic.
Oof. That back and forth, holy crap, I loved it. And that's why when we go back and look at this is why Edit's teasing me. I tried finding it on Twitter and I couldn't because it's I guess an older version most likely. But back in 2014 when I was watching NXT, I tweeted at Baron Corbin that I ended up loving him every single week that I saw him. And I think he like basically liked it at the time. So I took a screenshot and I posted it on my Instagram. And then he commented on my Instagram that he's like, "Oh, like we're having a moment here too." So it's like it made me think back of like I've been a fan of his from like those early moments up until now, and to see everything he's done. And every time they have a back and forth, I was like, he did do that. And then Carmelo would say something, and I was like, that's true too. And I'm like, holy moly, the way they go back and forth with each other, they cannot deny what the other has done. They really can't, because of the way he told him, he's like, I have my WrestleMania moments and look at my bank account and the house that I have. But at the same time, you think about Carmelo, it's like all the moments he's had in NXT so far, and like Dara was saying, like the NXT Cruiserweight title, the North American Championship, and even now, and I was like, holy moly, they can't really deny what the other one has done for sure. But this back and forth is why I loved. Um, I was looking back at the website. The only other person that I could find will be Apollo. I don't
Okay,
know if he's counting him probably,
that
but
that
everybody
makes
else,
sense.
yeah, everybody else is like people like JD that's in the main roster now, Pretty Deadly in the main roster now, and those are the only two I can think of. Everybody else is still in NXT, but yeah, I love the like that back and forth, especially when he's like about the people and like the jerseys and the shirts that he has with their names on it, and he's like, I'm blowing the roof and getting a new one because I've blown it off, and I don't think I wrote it down, but then he's like basically in other words saying, oh, I don't want to meet your expectations. I want to create new ones for myself. It's like I respect what you've done in here, but basically we have new things to accomplish in here. And it's like I'm not erasing what you did in NXT Black and Gold, but we're making like new things happen here. And the way he said that, I was like, yeah, that's exactly it. I was like, I remember being in those moments of like watching it on my TV as what the time was Bright House Networks, and watching it on Hulu before it was even on the network too, and watching NXT from what it is then to what it is now. Huge amount, huge change, but it was that moment of like people like Corbett who were trying to build off that brand, give it the foundation it has, to people like Carmelo being now that they're able to have it on TV, which we didn't get to have beforehand for everybody else to watch it. So just seeing those changes now and the different, I would say, like kind of like generations to NXT, it's nice to see how different it is now.
What I loved about this is that neither one was attacking each other's accomplishments. What
Yep.
they were trying to do is, you've done this, look at what I've
Mm-hmm.
done.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, well, you've been on the main roster because you're older than me and you've been here longer than me. Great. But I'm 26 and I'm already here. And when you were 26, you were still failing to be an NFL player. Like, just the back and forth. Corbin talking about how much money he's made and how Happy Corbin may have been a terrible character, and almost acknowledging that Happy Corbin is a terrible character, but going,
Mm-hmm.
look how much money I made because of that. I got to buy a house because I was on the main roster doing that garbage.
Yep.
Like, it's just so fantastic. And I'm almost disappointed that the match is next week, because I want this match to be happening at July
Mhm.
30th just so we can get more of this, because this was an all-timer
Yes.
promo.
Yeah, I'm like, I really wish. I know it's happening next week, but I wish we had more of a like. I don't want to say build up, but more like a back and forth that we have from to continue this, because I'm enjoying it so much, and it just like, and to also say Baron Corbin's wife is Puerto Rican. Good job, Baron. Good job. That's all I'm saying. Uh, but
When he
yeah, I
said
wish
it,
I more
when he
time.
said when he said my hot ass wife, I thought he was gonna pull a Carl Anderson and be like, my hot Asian wife.
I thought he was saying my hot ass Puerto Rican wife, and I was waiting for that, and then he didn't say, it, and I was like, come
For
on, you had one opportunity.
for people who don't know, I've never seen Carl Anderson's wife, but if you've ever watched promos of
No.
But if you ever watch promos of Carl Anderson, whether it be in Impact, whether it be on
Yeah.
in New Japan, whether it be on Twitter, he's constantly mentioning his wife. And the only thing he ever calls her is my hot ass Asian wife. That's the
Yeah.
exact wording he uses to talk about her. So when
Yep.
Baron said it, I instinctively thought Carl Anderson. Um, why we're sitting here talking about OGs and takeovers and everything building,
Oh.
I'm going to be starting a new show on the Ole networks, and it's going to be called Talking Takeover. And I'm going to be going back with a tag team partner to be named later. Well, you haven't accepted. Are you saying you're going to do it?
Yeah.
Okay. We talked about it, and you said you had to check. We're going to be doing a monthly show, or bi-monthly. We're going to be doing a show periodically where we go from the beginning. We're going to start at the beginning, and we're going to go ahead and talk TakeOver. We're going to start with NXT Arrival, which was the first ever NXT show on the network. Me and Ashley have been talking about this for, 3 weeks now?
More or less,
I would say 3 or 4 weeks we've been talking about the idea of doing this show. Where we're going to go ahead and start with Arrival. And we're going to go ahead and review, retro review style, all of the NXT takeovers, all 36 of them. Well, 37 if we're including Arrival. It's going to be a fun ride. Go ahead and we'll tell you what weeks we're going to start and what shows we're going to be reviewing. But go ahead and watch some of these, because if you've never gone back and watched these early NXT takeovers, you're in for an awakening, because NXT TakeOver is known as the creme de la creme of WWE pay-per-views. But there was a time and place where they had 1 or 2 good matches, and there was developmental stuff beforehand. And these shows weren't always the greatest thing on God's green earth. You'll see how quickly that changes. But there's a period of time where these shows aren't the greatest thing. But Astrid and I wanted to announce that now. We are going to be going ahead and doing this show. It's going to be fun. I'm sure we'll have some guests along the way. I'm sure we'll have some friends that are going to join us for the ride. But she hadn't officially accepted, so I was just going to say it was going to be me, and we'd see who was going to join me after the fact.
You really think I was going to say no to that? Come on.
I thought you were... You're a busy lady. You're talking Collision now with Lauren Goodnight. You've got your 2-year anniversary coming up in July. You've got a lot of stuff on your plate already with Astrid Asks and everything. I didn't know if you're going to have time to talk TakeOver with me every month.
Come on, I always make time for you. Don't lie.
We have Mark saying he's looking... there's a lot of people who have never seen the early days of NXT. So it's going to be fun. Yeah. It's going to be fun to go back and watch.
I watched it from the beginning.
I watched it from the moment they got on the network.
I
can't say I didn't have access to it in Boston from the beginning, or else I would have.
Yep.
We then have Leon and Feroz backstage, saying stuff in Spanish that I'm sure Astrid can. Leon and Feroz.
Good job.
That's what I said, didn't I?
Yeah, I just wanted to. I want to hear it again.
Oh, okay. They were saying stuff in Spanish that I really don't understand. It might have been in English. I just wasn't paying attention. I just assumed it was in Spanish.
It was mostly Julissa telling her, it's like kind of like, I'm proud of you, because while I was off on the injury, you were kind of still, doing this almost on a weekly basis. And she's like, yeah, we got this, and like cheering each other on. And I love having, Dragon Lee come in, and he's like, you guys got this against the girls. And then Nathan come in, with the Heritage Cup. He's like, kind of like, I wouldn't have done this without both of you. And she goes, we got it, amigo. And it's like, I like how they draw all this like random Spanish now. And then he's like, no, I just want to say one thing. Gracias. And I'm like, I'm sorry, that made me cringe.
I was so Nathan Frazier in this segment, being like, I'll just throw out the 1 or 2 random Spanish words I know.
That made me cringe. But I love having the part of like the way Nathan came up once the girls left, coming up to Dragon Lee and telling him, as my mentor Rollins told me to like give back to the people that I have helped me, so I'm gonna give you that first shot for the Heritage Cup. And he's like, kind of like, for real? And then I kind of like, you can hear Dragon Lee as they're penning off. He's like, yeah, I'm going to put my name right there on the cup. It'll be right there next, and like teasing each other about it. But I love how they did it with the girls, of like having that moment, because we haven't heard Julissa like saying officially anything about since her return. So it's nice to hear like tell Valentina, it's like, you kept going off and you kept doing it for yourself as you were here, and I'm proud of you for doing so. But like, now it's our time to go together and kick their asses, basically.
Yulissa's the little one, right?
No, Yulissa's the like taller one.
Oh. Okay.
Valentina's the one that was here this whole time with Wendy. So.
I just want to be able to know. I in my notes it's literally the tall one, the little one. We get Gallus wanting to get ready to go to the bar. They're trying to get interviewed. They're blowing it off. The Gallus boys start going ahead, and somebody's honking the horn behind their car. So Joe Coffey, who's on the phone, says, "Just go around the building and come grab me in a second." So he's on the phone, and he finds out that there's rats at the bar. And then out pops Stacks, and he goes ahead and attacks them, and he throws them in the trunk of the car. And I'm like, oh, Stacks, that's what got Tony in trouble. I don't know if you should be doing this. Why do they always do it when the cameras are around? Didn't they learn anything from Blair Davenport to do it when the cameras aren't around?
No, apparently not.
We have Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend defeating Valentina Feroz and Yulissa Leone. Lash wins when Metaphor interferes. Okay, moving on. Do we need to talk about anything else? Do we really need to talk about anything else with this match?
I was just frustrated because I was giving Lash, the opportunity to hoping she would be better. And towards the beginning of the match, she goes to kick Yulissa and she doesn't. Yulissa just reacts to it, but she doesn't even touch her. And I'm like, okay, I'll give you one more chance. And then there's that moment. I think it was I think it was Yulissa as well, when she's like sliding off on the ring. So Yulissa's like flat on the mat, kind of like waiting for Lash to pull her off, and she doesn't. It takes her a while to pull her off, so it's like she's on the floor literally. And then I'm like, there was a second second chance I gave you. I'm done. I tried. I gave you 2 chances. You messed up twice. I'm good now. I couldn't do it. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm trying to find my tweet. Hold on. Replies. Here it is. It's in here. Where is it, Lash? Where is Lash?
Wait, the one that you sent me?
Yeah. I'll see if I can find it.
I was like, can I find it faster than you?
No, I found it.
Okay.
So Lash Legend is doing a thing where WWE NXT tweets, "Wow, Lash Legend didn't hold back on Yulissa Leone and Valentina Feroz." And I went, the only good thing that Lash does in the wrestling ring is run her mouth. Tonight's match proved that I was correct. Am I wrong? Did she do anything in this match worth listening to or talking about?
No.
Hell, the one thing that she did that looked somewhat impressive was a big boot. Okay.
I just didn't think that was going to be the ending of it. And when it ended, I was like...
I was praying that was going to be the end of it because I didn't care who won as long as somebody won.
Oh, yeah.
The best part of this match was that that Lola came out. No cooling down for Lola. Lola and Electra came out. That was the best part of this match. We get a rundown for what we're going to get next week on week 2 of the Gold Rush. We got Carmelo Hayes versus Baron Corbin for the NXT Championship. We got Tiffany Stratton versus Tia Hale for the Women's Championship. We got Gigi Dolan versus Kiana James for the, Artist Championship. We've got Idris Enofe and Malik Blade versus Gallus for the NXT Tag Team Championships. And Nathan Frazier is defending the Heritage Cup against Dragon Lee. Next week's show is just as stacked as this week, if not more. And then we get to our main event. Whew. This was good. I like this.
Yeah.
Astrid, go ahead and talk about the main event here with Seth Rollins and Bron Breakker.
The other thing, I wish it was more to say, because the match itself wasn't long either. I knew for the moment the girls match, I was like, by the time this is going, they don't have a lot of time either. But it was a lot of, I like Braun being able to give in more to him being a heel. He sees Rollins with the tape in his ribs. He goes for the ribs as much as he can, no matter how he can. And it's that, that moment of this is the way I can beat him. I clearly see he has a weakness. He's not here 100% yet. So focusing a lot on the ribs there. There was a moment that I liked that when he was setting up for the spear and Rollins just moves. And I just wanted to say, did you forget that his tech partner used to do a lot of spears and he knows when they're coming? And that called back to the Shield. And then there's that moment as well when Rollins is going for the frog splash and Braun just moves and the way he just lands on his ribs. I was like, there it goes again, that target there. And even Braun going for the submission, I was like, yeah, he's too close to the ropes. So I already expected something to happen there. But as you mentioned, it took not only 1, but 2 stomps from Rollins. And then, Rollins still retains his championship. again, like I said, it's like there's not much to like really highlight from that aside from those moments. But it's just more like Braun being Braun and being the heel. Like he's like, I'm gonna go for this Ripsy because that's the way I can win this. But then after the match, we had somebody attack Rollins. It took me a moment. I thought it was Dom. I saw the purple and I already knew it was Judgment Day, but I thought it was Dom at first. But it was no, it was Balor. He chased him all the way to Orlando, attacked him again to end the show.
Yeah, it was fun to see all of that. One of my favorite things from this was the beginning of the match when you have Rollins coming out, and unlike what happened during Dana Brooke and Cora Jade, you had the entire crowd in the palm of Seth Rollins' hand. Yep. You had them all on their feet. You had them all singing his song. You had a decent majority of them yelling, burn it down, when that comes up in the song. You had passion and excitement for the entire match. Braun was getting booed. Seth was getting cheered. There's that moment where the lights go out and it's just a spotlight on Seth. And he's just standing there listening to them sing his song, and his eyes are closed. And he's milking every single moment of being back in NXT, of having that moment to just be here and be in that moment. It was just fantastic. It was such a cool moment. It was such a cool, just a way. The match was just everything it needed to be. It didn't need to be anything more. It didn't need to be anything less. It makes Braun feel like he can hang with some of the best and the best. Then again, if you can't have a good match with Seth Rollins, you probably can't have a good match, period. So, take that for what it's worth. But no. And then Finn Balor continuing the storyline on Raw, continuing the storyline that you need heading into Money in the Bank. That's a fun thing to do. It makes the wrestling world, not just the NXT wrestling world, but the whole wrestling world feel like a joined universe where everything's kind of happening not in a vacuum. It's not, oh, this is NXT. Finn Balor can't show up because Seth Rollins is here. Like, it's fun to see things like that. Carmelo Hayes being definitely portrayed as the babyface, coming out to defend Seth Rollins' honor after Seth Rollins got beat up for a little bit here. It was good, and the show goes off the air, and this is an absolute banger of an episode of NXT.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. Like, it was a hell of an episode. Lots of things happened here. They set up a lot of good things going forward. They set up some bad things going forward, but shit happens. You got to set up things too. Astrid, where can the people find you?
You can find me again next week. Yes, I will be back next week. Taking over with you.
We'll see.
Yeah, right. Aside from that, you can find me on my Twitter, Astrid Pizarro. My Instagram is Astrid Pizarro 20. Not this weekend. Next weekend, I'll be doing the Woman of Color panel at Florida SuperCon. So really excited for that one as well. Really fun times. And if you haven't yet, if you watched AEW Collision, Lauren and I did the reaction to it last week. So you can go on my YouTube channel and watch it there as well. It was super fun to react with Lauren, like something like this for the first time. But yeah, overall, that's pretty much. I don't have a lot going on actually. And then you can find written NXT review on Women's Wrestling Talk on Sundays.
And before we go ahead and talk about where you can find me, let's talk about all the other fun things that you can find on our local establishment this week. also that you can go ahead to Rogue Energy, because Lord knows I'm going to need it with the week that I've got coming up. Because you can go to rogueenergy.com and get a promo code to get 10% off your order. As always, I'm going to recommend the watermelon. Is my favorite flavor. I just got a restock about 2 weeks ago. It's fantastic. So make sure you go ahead and get your Rogue Energy with whatever flavor you like the best. I know Mel likes the blood orange. Parrish is all about all different kinds of flavors. Sometimes it's a strawberry kiwi, sometimes about his rocket pop, but Parrish always knows what's in stock. And if you want to know what's in stock, you can go ahead to rogueenergy.com, scan that QR code right underneath Astrid, and get 10% off your order when you use the code OLEPODS. Why am I going to have a tough week? Because, man, this week don't stop for me now. So
and you said I was busy.
Well, I'm getting a little busy. Starting every Wednesday, starting tomorrow for the next 6 weeks, you are going to get Marvel talk on a weekly basis as me and Andre are going to be talking all things Secret Invasion. Yes, Secret Invasion drops in 4 hours from now. Secret Invasion will be dropping on Disney Plus, so go ahead and watch the episode and then join us as we can talk about who's a Skrull, who's not a Skrull, what's Nick Fury been up to. We're going to find out all the answers to all that and more tomorrow night, 10 p.m., right here on our local establishment. After that, man, the night don't stop for me, because right after that, we're going to shut the podcast down, start it right back up. Me and Parrish are going one-on-one, with Eric Bischoff, as we're going to go ahead and have our premium live event, Hell in the Cell, week 20 of our Wrestle Draft, my GM mode from 2K23. It's going to be fantastic. Then, well, my week is over then. I don't come back till next Tuesday. I'll have my own streaming stuff, which you can go ahead and catch on my own personal Twitch at EdFries2002. You can find me on Twitter for updates about when I'm going to go live and what I might be playing on EdFries12584. But don't forget, this weekend is Forbidden Door weekend. We got my tag team partner is going to be, I think you're talking Forbidden Door, aren't you?
Me? No.
No Forbidden
Your
Door?
other tag team partner.
I've got too many tag team partners.
See, I told you.
I got a tag team partner here. I got a tag team partner there. I know
number one, though.
Lauren Goodnight, Andre C., Mel Ball, and Bobby are all going to be doing a post-show review. I thought you were doing a pre-show for it for some reason. I didn't know if you were doing a post-show, pre-show with Collision or anything going on this week. All kinds of great stuff for Forbidden Door. Watch that show. That thing looks like a banger. Even if you take out that silly Jungle Boy versus Sonata match, which I don't know why you would put Sonata against Jungle Boy. Fucking pathetic. You could have any one of the great talented wrestlers in AEW, and you give Sonata Jungle Boy. He's almost as bad as giving him Tia Hale. He might act a better match with Tia Hale than Jungle Boy. Don't get me started on Jungle Boy. But go ahead and watch all the fine things here at our local establishment. We're doing all kinds of wonderful things all week long. We had Turnbuckle Talk a little bit earlier today. And now I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find somebody to raid. Let's see. I don't know. I normally do this ahead of time, and normally I have somebody behind the scenes helping me here.
Let's see. Who's online?
Why don't we go ahead and raid Allison Kay? She's a delightful, wonderful person in the wrestling world. Let's go ahead and raid the Allison Kay. Give me just a moment, everybody.
There we go.
Uh-oh. There we go. There's Allison Kay. There we go.
Yeah.
She's fantastic. If you don't know her work, you need to check it out. She's been on Impact. She's been in NWA. She's a former Impact Women's World Champion, if I remember correctly. So thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the ride. And with that, for everybody else who didn't raid, we'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Everyone is watching me when I'm coming around.